Okay. I just have to start with JD Vance, yes, the Vice President of the United States, because there has been so many awkward things that have happened around this guy this week. And remember, he might be MAGA's hope to be the successor to Trump. And as you watch these things, like, is this guy ready? I think we know the answer to that question. But let me just start with the fact that he is in Hungary. He has been in Hungary this week campaigning for Viktor Orban, who is, of course, the authoritarian sweetheart, shall we call him, leader of Hungary. And Vance is there. And during a rally with a bunch of Orban supporters, he tried to call Donald Trump. And it was more awkward than you think it was. I'm just going to play it because you just got to see it and hear it to believe it.
I actually had a special guest that asked that I give him a phone call, and we'll see. Let's hope he actually answers, but this is going to be very embarrassing. All right.
I'm sorry, the person you were trying to reach has a voicemail box that has not been set up yet.
Okay. Try one more time.
I mean, it seems like Donald Trump might have him on Do Not Disturb, which is so symbolic of what's going on right now. Maybe their relationship, who knows? But have no fear. JD Vance shamelessly tried to get the president on the phone again.
It's ringing. It's progress. Hello, Mr. President. How are you? Mr. President, you are on with about 5,000 Hungarian patriots, and I think they love you even more than they love Viktor Orban.
I mean, I guess that is a brag right now for JD Vance. So I guess it worked out. But Orban's election is next week. There is a lot obviously happening in the United States, including a war, including skyrocketing gas prices, including lots of things that are of concern to the American people. But JD Vance, the vice president, who clearly, ambitiously, desperately wants to be the president, is campaigning for a dictator who's an authoritarian sweetheart. So that tells you everything you need to know. Now, JD Vance is also involved in Iran in the sense that, well, he's been pitching a lot of stories about how he was opposed to it. But now Donald Trump has put him in charge of the Iran negotiations that are supposed to start this weekend. And just to give you a sense of how unprepared this guy is, when he was asked by a reporter about this, about enrichment specifically, because the Iranians want to continue to have access to uranium so that they can enrich uranium and create a nuclear weapon, JD Vance basically said, don't worry about it. And here's the analogy he used, which I can't believe this came out of his mouth.
You know what? My wife has the right to skydive, but she doesn't jump out of an airplane because she and I have an agreement that she's not going to do that because I don't want my wife jumping out of an airplane. We don't really concern ourselves with what they claim they have the right to do. We concern ourselves with what they actually do. And I think the president's been very clear on the enrichment question.
I mean, I have so many questions. Like, why did that come out of his mouth? Did he write it down? Was it premeditated? I don't know. I guess the analogy here he's attempting to make, if I'm being generous, is that he trusts his wife not to jump out of a plane, even though she can, just like we should trust the Iranians not to enrich uranium, even if they have access to it, which doesn't make sense because you certainly can't trust the Iranians. And why is your wife involved in this whole conversation? Okay, that's not even the worst and most awkward things that have happened for Donald Trump this week, or the worst bad things that have happened for him, I should say, because as this war has continued, he has lost a lot of MAGA allies. And then this week, when he threatened to kind of eliminate a civilization, which is something no president has ever done before, not language that should be used by any leader in the United States of either political party, a bunch of MAGAites decided that maybe they'd had enough. And that is quite telling.
I mean, I don't know about you, but I am sick of this. I'm sick of it. Can't he just behave like a normal human? I mean, honestly, like the president, 380, yes, shut up. Shut up about that.
How do we 25th Amendment his ass? The problem is to get the 25th Amendment. It's harder than impeachment. You have to get 2/3 of the House and 2/3 of the Senate.
So what do we do?
Tackle Trump and let him pretend he's president and publicly report that he's going through a health issue and Vance take over.
Those people who are in direct contact with the president need to say, no, I'll resign.
First of all, never thought I'd say this, but like Megyn Kelly, I see you. I hear you. I hear what you're saying, and we're all sick of this. Okay. That is not, I just want to give you a little update on a plane. We've talked about this plane before and I feel like in the updates around clown car antics of this administration, this is a particularly absurd one. So remember Kristi Noem, the former Secretary of Homeland Security, DHS purchased a plane, basically, that she could ride around on, and it became a version of a flying love shack, reportedly, for her and Corey Lewandowski. And now the government is keeping that plane, according to the Wall Street Journal. The $70 million plane, now you know where taxpayer dollars have gone, is still in government possession. And guess who gets to ride on it? Among the people, cabinet members too, is Melania Trump. Melania Trump, the first lady, gets to use that plane reportedly with the bedroom, which I guess the good news here is that it's finally being used to transport immigrants. So I guess we can see that as a point of good news. Okay, in some actual good news this week, there were a lot of Democratic wins this week. And just put this in my veins, put it in all of your veins, because there was a lot of good news and just good signs. And one of the signs, which may not sound like a win, but it is a win, and I'm going to tell you why, is the most conservative seat in Georgia. It was formerly held by Marjorie Taylor Greene. She left Congress. There was a special election. Republican Clay Fuller ran against Democrat Sean Harris. And normally this is a district. I mean, to give you a sense, I just want to get the numbers right here. Marjorie Taylor Greene won this district by 29 points. Trump won it by 37 points. Sean Harris only lost by 12 points. That is a 25-point swing. It's the biggest overperformance yet this cycle. And again, the most conservative district. This should not have even been a district that Republicans had to spend money on. And he also did it by doing better in some communities that have a larger Latino population. Who knows? He's staying on the ballot. It's an uphill climb, but they're going to compete again in November, so we'll see what happens. It wasn't the only election, though, on Tuesday night. Also, there was one in Wisconsin, the Wisconsin State Supreme Court race. You may remember a year ago, there was a state Supreme Court race in Wisconsin. Elon Musk got involved. He tried to buy the race. He wore a cringy cheese hat. The whole thing was happening there. That race was won by a Democrat by about 10 points. This time, Chris Taylor won the seat by 20 points. And also won a county that Trump won by 24 points. Taylor won by 11. That's a big swing, a big swing. And what's interesting about this, obviously Wisconsin is very different from Georgia. All of this is trending to tell everybody that there's a lot of energy on the Democratic side. Also, there are independents and Republicans. There have to be, just by the number of people who voted for Sean Harris in Georgia, who are deciding to vote for Democrats in some of these special elections. That's interesting. This is all a very good sign for Democrats as we look to November, which is only a couple of months away. Okay, I want to end on a very positive note, a fun note, one that we just love to follow, and that is Bobby Polito, who is the Tejano Grammy winner who's running for Congress in Texas. And he had been invited to perform at quinceañeras. The early numbers were about 1,000. Now he's been invited to 2,700, maybe even more at this point. Quinceañeras and bar mitzvahs and birthday parties and graduations. And he's also been wearing Make Quinceañeras, or selling, they've been selling Make Quinceañeras Great Again hats, which I think is such a fun kind of own the message from the other side thing they're doing. You can see a hat there. I mean, you may be able to buy them online. I don't even know. There he is at one. So I'm just going to play you out with him at a recent celebration for a young lady named Selena.
Estoy como un niño, como